Somehow Moicano has called out Paddy. And I have to word it like that because, first off, Moicano's interviews are tough to understand. I mean, he's jumping around, he's going, and they're like these conscious thought more than they have anything to do competitively. Like, generally, when I judge an interview, you would have told me a story and you would have gained some traction in a direction, right? Who, what, when, why, and where. Have something to do with the ranking, have something to do with your goals, have something to do with why it matters, have some kind of maybe a personal attachment, whatever it was, get us started, scratch the surface at a minimum. I realize you don't have a lot of time before Daniel, Anik, or Rogan takes that microphone, Bisping it time, take that microphone out of your hand. I realize that, but get us going in that direction, right? Chael will give you some props and probably going to scold you and give you the business if you don't achieve something along those lines. Moicano does none of them ever. I love Moicano interviews. He wants to be a police officer. Apparently to shoot at. He wants to get somebody pregnant because his father at 62 did. Moicano likes steaks. Moicano needs money. Like, I don't know anything about fight. And I love this guy's interview. So it was very interesting that somehow he actually went down a path of building an actual fight for himself. And by the way, it's with Paddy. Whoa, is there anything you want to see more? Is there any fight that you want to see more? Because see, we're at that point with Paddy, and I will tell you, Paddy's not the one holding up the party. Paddy's hands are clean. They're as clean. Sugar Sean went through this. Sugar Sean could beat everybody. He could sell more tickets than anybody. He could get a louder pop than anybody. He could get more questions at the press conference than anybody, but he couldn't get the ranked opponent. He couldn't get the guy that was going to bring him closer to his own personal goals. He was in a building phase. And this building phase was like killers, super hard opponents that just weren't well known. And in this sport, if you're not well known, you are then perceived to not be as talented, which is just, it's the problem with building fighters. It's why when you build somebody, it never works. You're much better to put them in with Murderers Row, who you know about, you got a resume, you got tape on, you can talk to common opponents, you can find out some inside scoop. Look, before I digress into that, somehow Moicano gets into the wheelhouse of Paddy. Now, he doesn't call him out straight up. He does want to fight him, but first, he wants Paddy to fight Drew Dober. Okay, I just haven't observed this in my time in the sport. I have not observed somebody do a call out, but first you have to fight the guy that I just beat. Now, he must believe that Paddy can beat Dober, who he just beat, but he wants to test Paddy in some regard. And this is the part where I told you he kind of called out Paddy. Like, is that a call out? It sounds like one. And it sounds like we're in a really good direction. Let's remove the Dober part. Because there's no fighter that's going to matchmake for somebody else. Like, I don't believe there's ever a time that has happened. And moreover, to put an undefeated UFC fighter over a guy that just suffered a loss 2 days ago, just doesn't happen, right? Let's go back to this Moicano Paddy business. And I'll tell you what, Paddy's in. I'll tell you right now, Paddy's in. This whole idea that Paddy wants to fight lesser-known guys, or Paddy wants to fight guys that aren't as sharp now as they once were. That is not true. That is who Paddy has been matched up with. Paddy's in. And I want to see him fight Moicano. Like, there's something on that. There's something special behind that. I haven't had an update on Paddy. By the way, they generally come in and it has something to do with his diet, right? I mean, Paddy the Fatty, I can't even tell you how annoyed I am. If you liked that kind of thing, I'm annoyed with you. We're not the same kind of guy. And you know people like that. Like, you find out the guy's got a pet tarantula at home, and you're like, oh, we don't have to speak anymore. We're not the same guy. He likes to put snakes around his neck, like that's cool. I had a kid in school that had a jacket, and he had a rat, he had a pet rat. It would run up his jacket, and then it would like come out the other side, and he'd show you it in class. It's like, why do you have a rat, and moreover, in your coat? Anyway, the point is this. I haven't heard a lot about Paddy. I don't believe he's hurt, because I would have heard it as a big name. And he must somewhat be in the gym. He must not be doing the fatty, the batty, because there is a market out there that would be taking pictures and documenting it and wanting to find out. Last time he had a Bismarck on it. I mean, it's one of these things. So I have a feel, without knowing, but I have a feel that things are going well. So where the hell's his fight? What's the holdup? He had that long delay. People forget that. Patty's comeback fight with Tony, Patty got a little fatigued in the third round. It was a comeback fight for Patty. He should have gotten fatigued. He had been out for a year. And he took on a guy who put a 90% or more of his emphasis into the training camp into cardio. I don't think Patty's getting a fair shake. That's what I'm saying. I want to get him back in there. I want to get some media. I love that Moicano called him out. Let's remove the Dober. Let's go right to Moicano. Let's go right to Patty. Moicano likes steaks. Moicano needs money. There was even some talk about UFC 300. I mean, it seems a little bit presumptuous to me. It seems a little bit forward. And there's always something where guys in this sport, they all jump on the same ship, and it's always the miss, right? Look, if you got 300, I would understand why you would pander and maneuver and negotiate to get yourself on it. But if you follow the sport, I mean, if you're sandbagging, you're still trying to get yourself a fight on 300. But if you follow the sport, right, if you're Sonnen, you realize they've already announced 10 fights. They only put 11 on a card. Even if you got a special one, you're going to bring in number 12 or you want to be a backup fight because generally somebody chickens out, and they will. If 300, they do a ball cards. It's still one of these things where careful going in a certain direction. If you're not going to get it, you look powerless. Before we digress and go down that road, though, it doesn't have to be 300. There's going to be something called 301, believe it or not. There's going to be something called 302, believe it or not. There's going to be something called 305. I'm just saying, Moicano versus Patty. Do you not like the idea? Is there something I don't know? Has there been press on Patty? Is Patty re-injured that knee? Is there something I'm missing? Because if there's not, I would like your opinion. Moicano versus Patty. How do you like the sounds of that?